Why, hello there, little one. Ben here from Second Dynasty. It is Friday, which means it's time for a Friday stream. John has given me the thumbs up. He's in the background. He has promised either to shout or whisper. And right now he is mouthing things at me. Hopefully not sweet nothings, but you never know with John. He is making his creepy face that he used very effectively last week. Anyway, thank you to John for streaming last week. You took last week's stream, right?
What?
Yes, he did. In case you're new here, one, you should like and subscribe because that's the thing you do on these things, right? But secondly, we have a sort of behind the scenes every Friday where we look at what we've been working on during the week, what's coming up. And the big thing coming up for us, of course, is the July Tribes release, and on the 15th of July, Expendable, our officially licensed OPR adventure, one-page rules, Star Quest adventure that we've built. The stats have come through, and I'm very excited to share the adventure module. I think you have played in a number of different systems, but that's the primary one we're supporting. Story-wise, I think we've got something cool going on. And this is the Alecto variant of our executive yacht. I have dimmed the lights a little bit in this scene just so that you can see the lines a little bit clearer. We'll be showing off the physical print of that. It's all test printed, and the build plates are ready. I can even show you guys. We've got the build plates for the two different variants ready to go. Both Doug and Shergel are test printing it, and we'll also be looking at the progress on Expendable. But let's get back to that first. Maybe it's time to say g'day to the chat, as we often do. Let's see. Both Shergel and Doug are here today, which is nice to see. We've got Hazard Rat, we've got Solo Spirit, Kathy, John, of course, and Clive is here. Tamsin is here. Yeah, that's who I see for now. So exciting to see you guys. Also, Kathy has a Kickstarter running at the moment, if you want to check that out. I think we've still got a link in our description. I'm not entirely sure. But it is some cool Star Warsy training grounds terrain that actually uses GridForge as well, the system that we're going to be looking at today, which John has created and is available for people to license for free if they want to use that system. Is that a better way of saying it, John? No. And thumbs up. Okay, great. That's not confusing. Let's take a little bit of a look at the Alecto and then the Megaera variant. So this is what we're going to be releasing to tribes for our vehicle tier this month. And it, as you can see, is in the Erebus style. I'm going to just, let's see, turn on, so I'm going to turn off the roof here so we can see down into the ship itself. You've got these 7 customizable yacht floor tiles here that you can switch out if you want. If you want a more metallic look, for example, these parts feature already as a part of the Erebus and Erebus aerodynamic variants, so you can use those. Otherwise, we've got this new single-person cockpit, which actually also has an AI, this interesting little thing. So it has an AI pilot that attaches to the ceiling, so you can just let things go. It's got a bunk, it's got a hypersleep chamber built for one, essentially for company executives to intimidate when they go on visit, usually for cost cutting. Now, these are not designed for interstellar travel, but there is a second variant as well. So let's stick the top back on, and then I'm going to turn off the Alecto parts there and turn on the Megaera parts. So the Megaera version is blockier. It has these big, thick engines, and this variant will be a part of the Friends of Benjamin and Tribes level. Oh God, I can see John is trying to make me pimp the tribe a little bit there. So, what is Tribes? Is this some monthly Patreon-like service on My Mini Factory? How could you learn more? There's a link in the chat that John has graciously put there. So yeah, for a $5, you can get the Alecto, which is actually a bloody good deal if you ask me, considering the size of the ship. And if you're wondering how big it is compared to the Erebus, this might take a little bit of calculation and computing power here, because I've left the lights on. Looks like I've also managed to kill one of the walls for some reason. Things have frozen in Maya, I think, because of the light calculations, so it should be popping in any minute. You got me to do half an ad read. Yes, indeed. Welcome, Will, Brendan, and Derivative Content. So yeah, you can see that a lot of the interior came in, but the main point is how big the Erebus is compared to these vehicles. And I think you'll agree that it's considerably smaller, but still quite a large craft. The Erebus, by comparison, is about 30 centimeters long, maybe 32 in this configuration. So we've got the Megaera variant there, and then we've got the Alecto variant here, which personally, the Alecto is my favorite. Oh, what's all this other nonsense? I guess a bunch of hidden layers. But yeah, I just wanted to show that off and to show what's coming. So why don't we take a look at, let me turn the lights off here in the scene, I mean, so that it's not taking up too much memory, and we can switch to our movable camera where you can see the physical prints here. So we've got Alecto here. I did make like this 30-minute assembly video, and then we realized it had no sound, so we didn't end up putting it out, because I mean, those videos are all about the ASMR anyway. So yeah, you can get an impression of the size based on the size of my hands. Very nice ship, if I do say so myself. And whilst not directly made for the Erebus, you should be able to stick these engines on still.
Don't mind me.
Ah!
That was bugging me.
John was irritated. So that's the Alecto variant there. And then we have the Megaera. You can just see the little AI D20 sticking out, which may or may not have appeared recently in a certain film, something similar.
I think it looks like a pimple.
And of course it has custom landing gear as well. I really kind of like how this came out, so it was fun to work on. I maybe spent an extra day more than I was intending to. And then of course we have some cool stuff based on Expendable, what we're going to be putting out soon on the 15th of July. Where to start? Well, let's start with the floor, John says. And I'm going to turn on this little light. Oh, that is bright. So bright. But I think... there, that's what we wanted, the red one. So, why the red light? So that we could get a cool effect of showing you how you can see through these tiles. And even better, the kind of cool shadows you can make. I don't know if the shadows are that easy to see right now. But you can get some nice effects there. Actually, I'm going to turn on a stronger version of the light. Oops. Okay, that's the stronger version. So you can see the cool shadows that you can make with these, and John has refined the shape so that we get these cool printouts, and these of course are all GridForge. And the other thing you'll notice is they're multi-material. So they use two different shades of metal. Maybe hard to see in this light, so let me turn that off again. Let's hold that up. Hopefully it's in focus. There we go. So this is a corner piece. And then we have the standard piece here, which is for the corridors. So I really like the way that these are coming out. And a lot about Expendables that we're doing this time around is focused on trying to make, because we knew we wouldn't have time for painting. So we're testing out some very simple multi-material switches, and we're going to make the 3MF files available so that rather than relying on STL files, you can actually achieve the same thing. And the beauty of using that sort of thing is that you can actually, the more you print, the more effective it is. And which one are we going with next? This one. Okay. So John polled our community as to which variant should we use for the medical section. We had this blue floor option, which to be fair looks better on camera, I guess. And the white version, which is what I made him make. But I still wasn't happy with the way that the walls came out. So we ended up doing something similar to my Maya scene. And you can see here the results, including my new medical door, which actually did require a tiny bit of glue to assemble because of the way he did it with the multi-material. So you can see here, I've got to bring it back towards me. You can see here the cool candy stripe. That's just an insert that I believe snaps in. John is nodding. And this other one is just too delicate, so it's just glued in place. But you can kind of see up close. Actually, that's too much light, so let's see if we can get it back just a tiny bit. And there's even slots in the top if you want to put in some like Perspex or plastic for actual glass. So this is a test print of what we're calling the science and medical section of Cocytus Station. And we'll look at that in Maya in just a second. John also built some pearlescent doors here, because he didn't realize I had a cool new door. So we get bonus doors. Probably a different color would show these off a bit better, I think. So let's try this one at a time. This particular color is so reflective, it's kind of hard to get the details. There's one with a window, and one that just has the frame. So hopefully that's shown off okay on camera. But again, the sort of pearl silk look is what it is. And then fresh off the printer from today is part of this month's GridForge release, which is our lowest tier on the tribe. Let's see, maybe we can get this camera to focus. Maybe not. There we go. It may look familiar because this is based on our existing hangar. So we do have a new hangar, and I'm going to show that off in Maya in just a second. But here is one of the floor tiles. Again, multi-material. This actually uses 3 different layers. We've got the black as the base in matte. Then we have a single layer of metal. Is that right?
It's only 2 color changes total.
2 color changes total. So we've got that little metal part in the middle, and then we just have a matte gray on top of that. So we're going to see how that looks, and I think that concludes our show and tell section. And I can get back into chat, and we can start talking about this impressive scene. So, if you are a triber, we haven't test printed all of this, but on Tuesday we are releasing this month's tribes release. Let me just see if I can't get the chat up to see what people are saying about this. Most of it is about John Hola amigos, hope you have an amazing Friday. Thank you, Tim DuckForce1D. Let's see, and Shergol likes John's doors for a private medical cabin, so you can peek in, but mostly the patient has privacy.
That's what it's based on. It's based on.
It almost sounds like you've been conspiring together about this one, John.
What?
Anyway, here's the Alecto, and the base tiles that we're going to provide are enough to do the lower level, sans the door. So essentially, you'll have parts to build a hangar with these in the base version, and then the more evolved version will be available in Expendable. And people have been wondering, like, what's Expendable going to include? How much is it going to cost? We haven't got the final costing, but we know that our tribers, for example, are going to get a hefty discount. We're looking at a sort of all-in level at a... What were we talking about? You don't...
$1.
No, don't. No. we would go bankrupt if it was $1. We're talking about $40, right? And then with discounts for tribes, we're hoping to get that down to somewhere between 25 and 30.
Yeah.
Is a safe ballpark. So a hefty discount, and hopefully a lot of new people that play OPR games will also show an interest. So hopefully OPR can help out with a little bit of a push once it comes close to launch date. I guess we've got to get on their backs about that a little bit as well. But yes, so this will be the GridForge, and then I haven't looked to see what our back catalogue items are this month.
Ooh.
John will look that up for me. But in the meantime, maybe I'm just going to kill the lights here. So, and when I say kill the lights, I mean, you see these little light icons, the red things that are turning up. If I turn off those, they'll disappear, and you can see the meshes just a little bit better. I can't actually turn on the lighting because there are way too many lights for the scene. But I would say our complete hangar version has multiple tiers and enough room to actually fit a ship. This is kind of like a temporary little frame thing here that's not a permanent design just yet. And the door too is a little bit of a fake at the moment. But I kind of like it. This started out as just shutters for the windows. So we've kind of got this exterior. You can kind of see where like items are not completely finished. But they all will be finished by the time we release. So we've got a bunch of new furniture we're working on. Some of these are older items. But these sort of desks and sample containers. You can see the old style here. You can see the new style there. We've got some cool little old school computers. We're moving more towards trackballs because the joysticks and things just break off all the time. We've sort of got an MRI machine that we're working on. So we'll probably have some floor supports and something to support the bed a bit better. At the moment this is designed to... I thought it was all linked, but maybe I think I destroyed the groups when I grouped things together earlier. And of course, like the cryotubes you've seen before. These are new. Cool little retro computers with like the tapes. That's a fun one, or was a fun one to work on. Just expanding like what we're doing, and I also pulled in a few items from the Typhon because I want this semiotic, for example, and then I was like, oh, maybe we could have a mother room, or some such. So I'm hoping that with color prints we can actually do quite a bit of variation where just changing the base color can really lift a scene. And it is one of the issues with terrain, where terrain takes a long time to paint and prepare for play. So to some degree, having the option to print in color, either it could help with the base layer so you have to do less work, or just as a stand-in, so you've just got enough of a splash of color that you understand a little bit better where you are. Looks cool at the table, it wows at players. Obviously it does rely a little bit more on having more materials open, But I mean, even just like the wall style here, having a green versus an orange, easily denotes that this is a different area. We've got. I didn't take off the microscope yet, but this is like a control room for the yacht bay, I guess. Got your little airlock because on Cocytus the atmosphere is hostile. So it's not necessarily the same pressure and atmosphere as you're getting from ship to ship. And yeah, I have some ideas, like the pipes for expansions. It might not be in the default version, but even here too with the corridors, you can see our standard green for the corridors. Then you can see red, which is pulling us into what's going to be the engineering section, and you can see a lot of
color pending.
Color pending.
The red.
The red. Oh, it's not gonna look exactly like that, but I want it to be red. John is just like, We'll see. He wants to do some machinery in orange too.
Did you buy orange?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Well, gold.
You
I think.
bought gold.
Then no. I can't remember. It didn't look. It looked washed out to me. Anyway, why are you shouting, John? I'm kidding. I told him to shout. Yeah. So, what do you guys think so far? Let's see. Hazard Rat says, oh yeah, if you want a bigger hangar door, yeah, we do have additional options for much larger hangar doors. This hangar is, if you imagine, there's actually an unseen ceiling one, and I don't want to build this too big at present. But yeah, these are repeatable layers, so you'll be able to stack higher if you want this thing to be bigger. The idea with a lot of this base is it would be semi-underground. Let's see, it looks like my tax return is going on an ARMS. AMS? Oh, AMS, yes. That makes sense. Would love designs where you can get amazing color effects with a few single changes manually. I mean, you can do that. And a lot of the designs are designed to have as few switches as possible. In fact, John has convinced me to do things a certain way, or let him do things a certain way rather, so that a lot of the options require fewer switches. Of course, I don't particularly enjoy 3D printing myself, so we're trying to make it as bend-proof as possible.
Some of the parts only use 3 color changes. Some use 2. However, we do have a few that go up into the 60s, when Ben refused to let me adjust how it slices. That's all I got.
Anyway, that's still 60s instead of hundreds. And obviously, if you're printing, 15 parts rather than 1, those color switches are going to happen a lot less often.
The particular floors are designed to where they all have their color swaps at the same points, so you can really spread it out and have very few color changes. Even some of the organic tiles, like the rock walls coming in the Expendable campaign, have color changes occurring within a very select range. So I think that maxes out like 42 color changes maximum for as many walls as you want, mix and match.
Something like that. Let's see. Actually, the ship has to teleport into the hangar. Tim says, could do the red color for the corridor like ARX 2 did in that Kickstarter, a clip in separate print. Yeah, we're trying to keep things single so that we're, sticking to the GridForge system. Kathy retracted her message, but I'm guessing it might be related to Star Trek is Red. Doug loves the look of the base, which is awesome. Shergel says the station adventure is really shaping up, thank you. Aerospace says, hi Ben, the base is looking incredible. I'm so excited by this campaign. Awesome. I'm glad. It sounds like we'll have 1 or 2 backers at least. Overboard says, are the color files in 3MF? Yes. So they're provided in 3MF format rather than STL because STL cannot do such things. So I'm not. Do you want to have anything to say about that, John?
Sure. Do you want more specifics? There will be STL still.
There'll still be STLs of everything, obviously, but if you want our color changes and everything, the 3MF files.
We'll provide. May I speak along?
Yeah.
We will provide Orca Slicer 3MF files with everything pre-sliced how we prefer it. In addition, you will also receive the breakouts of STL files. It will be pre-done where it will say such and such floor dash bottom dash top. And this will allow you to then collect the color information. Sometimes it will give a color recommendation. However, generally I've been trying to avoid colors names in the file, just to see an extra split out. And that's a separate STL in a folder for color information.
And to be clear, this is a Frontier, not a Kickstarter, which means that the first releases will be available on the 15th. Is that going to be included in the first releases?
Some of them. We have to test print everything.
Well, we're going to be test printing a lot in the next 2 weeks, that's for sure. Alright, I need to avoid such things as getting into the risk zone where I might accidentally, say, kill the stream. So let's get back to the chat. 4 color changes is a lot better than 60. Agreed. Brendan says the station is looking amazing. Kathy says John's not bitter. Shergirl says, you're going to have to repeat what John said because we can't hear him clearly. Well, we made him come this time to talk about it, so hopefully I think you got the information. Overboard says it definitely looks good. Kathy says, I tend not to color switch as it is so wasteful. Perhaps a short for John to do.
Can I share one number, please?
Yes. Speak loud.
Okay. Is this good enough to hear?
Yeah, you're just hitting the top of the green.
Okay. I just want to share one of the areas that was very easy to work with, and that's some of the hanger tiles. They're designed to work with no prime tower required, minimal purge, and they hide under, the color changes hide under a second layer. So, for example, even if you printed just one tile and used 2.4 grams for the floor, only 0.8 grams were flushed. And no matter how many tiles you have, that flush amount stays the same at 0.8 grams. So it's significantly less than normal standard ways of doing it. And the color bleed's been mitigated by careful choices of where to color. We're not using the built-in Orca Slicer coloring method. We're doing manual picks of where the colors are starting and stopping.
So, in other words, John has gamed the system again in a very optimal way. So, once again, Second Dynasty, pretty much support-free, optimized printing that you can just fire and forget, which is the way I like it. Let's see, will Orca 3MFs open on Bamboo Slicer?
No.
Probably not, yeah, no.
They will, but they will act funky and settings will get stripped.
Yeah, this is one of those cases where 3MF is not as standardized as STL in various different slices. So you may get varying results. I don't know how it's going to perform in others. Honestly, we can only do this for Orca Slicer to guarantee it works in that. That's the one we're sticking to at the moment. It is free. It does support a lot of printers. And it is a good, solid slicer. Even if I like to correct STL files still in Prusa Slicer.
Yeah, because of the bug.
There is a bug in Orca Slicer when you're saving over the top of STL files that will overwrite the 3MF instead. But in general, very good slicer. And I don't know how we can do it any better. Let's see, I hear some A120 and MRAMs love from Ben there. Yeah, fire and forget, I guess. I guess from pronouncing it AMRAM, you know that, yeah, I know a little bit about them. But let's see, I've just designed a hangar door. Oh, that's cool. I'll have to check that out. Are there some new updates on the campaign, maybe? Or is this for a different one, Kathy? Aerospace Smith says, I see a spot for a certain 2x3 tile bench. What one's that? I'm not entirely sure. So, we have half an hour, which gives us a little bit of time and a few different options for what we could possibly work on. I really kind of like these walls, to be honest, the way that it sort of like... I think we got the sci-fi look down pat. I've been looking at a lot of concept art, in particular for Aliens Dark Descent and a couple of like XCOM and other sort of isometric sci-fi games for influence, certain movies. We can work on the engineering section, or we can work on maybe we could put in a computer control room. We could do a variant of this computer system. Do we have any suggestions? Maybe. Let's see. Kathy says I couldn't get Orca to work on the bamboos. It wouldn't do its link up. You've updated the...
You can't...
Yeah,
Bamboo,
if your firmware is too recent.
Yeah, Bamboo has added an authentication control, which is bizarre, and I'm not getting into it.
That's a whole thing, yeah,
you
but...
have to enable dev mode on your Orca, on your Bamboo printer to be able to go to use Orca.
Ask John about it if you... yeah. It put you off as the top Google link for Orca is a spam site. Yeah, a number of people have fallen into that one, but I mean, what you're going to do, spammers be spamming. Sounds like the infamous firmware update, Shogal was saying, and yes, indeed. It's for Outbound Station coming in September. Alright, okay, cool. Oh yeah, there's a fake Orca site, the GitHub is where you want to go. And yeah, it's more stuff on that. So far I haven't gotten any feedback from you guys on what you want me to build today. One thing about the ship, I just didn't have time to do any interior furniture for it. Obviously there's 7 tiles in there that are GridForge compatible. We do have some furniture you could furnish it with. Just too much time for a Tribes release. So I'm leaving that up to everyone. You order the stock version as the executive right, and then you customize it to your taste. Looked like I was getting started on engineering. No, I want some suggestions as to what to work on. Maybe you want a new wall variant. Maybe yeah, there's a couple of different things we could do. Engineering is going to be a bunch of pipes and things, a lot of importing older stuff. You can already see that we've kind of starting to work from... I think this was originally a variation of the not Pathfinder, the Odyssey main power plant. Crawlways. You want crawlways. I mean, a new kind of crawlway. Because, I mean, we do have the older style hidden in here somewhere. Like, there's always a mess. So we've got these that we've started testing doing some GridForge conversions for. So I haven't really thought about it, to be honest. And this being more... And I mean, I have thought about it in the sense of I'm thinking about how do the critters get around in this scene. And you can see there's a bunch of other stuff. So I would kind of like have some crawl space entrances in the back of this thing. But yeah. Is there a single bunk? For what? In the yacht there is. If that's what you're asking about. We've got this single bunk here. Rocky walls. John. You can take over now.
Yeah. I didn't know this. Did you know Orca Slicer supports genericized output and multi-material works?
I don't even know what you're saying.
It doesn't matter. It just means that from Orca Slicer, I can add a step of exporting genericized 3MF and Prusa Slicer and Bamboo Slicer import it with color information.
So color will work on Prusa. And bamboo
and
slice.
and bamboo slice. Yeah. So there.
Okay, there you go. Good news. There's a single bunk habitation back. Yes. Some taller server racks or multi-monitor stands. Multi-monitor stands. You know, we haven't got servers with anything other than this little thing there. So that could be some option. We do need also... I wanted to get the semiotic here. So I'm just going to clone this real quick and rip out this semiotic because I want to stick them on the servers. But we've got some good suggestions. The war game style wall of screens can be fun. Yeah, that's a bit of a more like an operation style thing, I think. Let's see. Let's inverse that. And we should be able to, whoops, center the pivot. It's only the semiotic selected. If we pull back the pivot point to here. Hopefully I'm not that low energy today. I've had a bit of a headache. And there's so much to be done before the holidays. And of course Albin is on his annual leave. As is Lieselot at the moment, so it's just John and me manning the office. Did we talk about France? No, because you ran the stream last week.
I told them a horrible version of my France trip.
So one thing that happened recently is we got invited to go to the My Mini Factory Creators... What do they call it? Creators... Gathering, yeah. Which was cool. We got to actually meet a lot of the people from My Mini Factory that we've worked with over many years. Got a little bit of a preview of some of the tools coming. And yeah, had a generally good time in Toulouse. Where, you know, John prepared everyone to talk to me. Being John, so I would look perfectly normal. No, it was really good. And John has made something really cool that we can't really share at this point in time. Hopefully you'll hear about it in the future. It is a John project, but I'm very proud of him for making it.
Aww. Is it another Benjaminin?
You know what it is.
Oh. Another Benjaminin?
Et
Right
al.
away, sir.
You know what it is, et al. Oh my god. What have I done? See, this is the thing. You give him an inch, he takes a mile.
What's a mile?
You give him a centimeter, he takes a kilometer. I guess that is more appropriately French. But yeah, it was a good time and really cool to meet the folks from My Mini Factory. I also learnt that apparently John is a power lifter.
Mm.
But yeah, it was a good time. I think that, how many creators were there? Like 60? Something like that. So obviously they couldn't invite absolutely everyone. But we did get to, for example, meet up with One Page Rules. Modifius was there, Paizo was there. It was kind of cool. Let's see. Were there additional... Oh, retracted messages. Great. CRT style monitors on the desk are okay, but the alternative style was more flat screen monitor style. I mean, we had more flat screen on the other, like, older style versions. So this package is more deliberately the sort of like cassette. What is it called? Cassette futurism look. So that's the flat screens are not really what we're going for on this one. We do have many products with flat screens or flat screens and oh, why did that not link? Okay. So yeah, just a little bit of a semiotic there. So you can't mistake that this is some kind of computing core. Let's combine that. But I kind of feel like to do more to this, I need additional references, and those are not great for on stream. Let's see, what have people been saying? Some of the bridge screens, okay, hang on. Some of the bridge screen from the ACF fleet would be good for an ops room. Yeah, although again, like this, we're really going for the sort of like aliens aesthetic in this one. So like, I am using more CRTs. I definitely need some help with a slicer to work around for bamboo. I really love to print these in color. I think we already got the answer for that one because John said that there will be an option. I need a bay for the Highlander. Yes, well, you could just use the hangar, right, but with a different kind of door. But that is a good point. It should fit into a hangar, and maybe you would have a different floor style, I guess, because these kind of have the tie downs, like on like a carrier. I guess they're not really necessary, but yeah, I don't know. It gives it more of a sort of aircrafty feel. Let's see. Shergol says there can only be one. Ironically, there isn't just one though, because John did his Highlander variant. So I guess we're going to have a beheading competition soon. The mech type of powerlifter or the sweaty man in a gym type. Vehicle bay idea is cool. Yes. Cassette futurism. Don't know about that. How about a punch card or punch tape futurism? I mean, the punch card thing, we kind of have a little bit that we could expand upon. I've got these little punch cards here that we could maybe do something with. Let's see. Space for a couple of Highlanders at a minimum. I mean, guys, what you could build with this is up to you, but the 3 core sets that we're going to create, aside from Corridor, is, well, I guess the expanded hangar, the science labs, and the engineering section. Now, of course, a base like that would have habitation, it would have like a command center, it would have maintenance, like vehicle base, like you say. The simple case is that we have to pick and choose what we're going to use to start with, at least in this campaign, because I don't have the resources to do all of that in time for the 15th. So we may do some stretch goals, but we're going to try and keep it to more like specific pieces that expand those sets. And if there's a high enough demand, we could potentially do, you know, a second Cocytus base style frontier at some point with those other sections, or integrate it into tribes releases moving forward. However, really, we need to just focus on what we can do to not get too sidetracked, because all of this does mean taking a break from Persephone, not getting out the big thing, you know, some of the parts.
Don't expect a bunch of big stretch goals because we're going into holidays.
Yes, exactly. We're going into holidays. I really need some time off because I'm, to be perfectly honest, hitting the wall pretty hard at this point in time. So we're not going to overextend, but that's also why we're having such a low price point compared to like some of the ships and things. So there will be a ton of variety for the parts. It's just not everything's going to be possible from the get-go. We should have power loader stations, so that would make sense, though. Let's see. The bug in the machine is just a facehugger. Space for a couple of Highlanders at a minimum. You can import through MF with geometry only and ignore slicing settings. This should hold color data too. How about a big industrial dot matrix printer? Cole John's Highlander, the Kurgan. This entire set will be a Kickstarter, or how do I get it when it's done? Okay, in the description, there's a link to the Frontier. So the Frontier, actually you can go to seconddynasty.com and just click the get notified sign. Sorry, this looks atrocious at this point in time. And you also get the power loader and 2 miniatures free right now just for being notified when it goes live on July 15. It is a Frontier, which means instant release. You'll be able to download and start printing on the 15th of July.
Campaign might not have the sheets ready though.
Yes, maybe not the full color sheets will be ready, but there should be, the base STLs should be there. So yeah, and Shergall is linked to it as well. Link is in the description. While you're looking in the description, you may as well hit the like and follow button.
Please like. I'm allowed to have a Coke when we get enough likes, and I want Coca-Cola.
You just had one, John.
I did 16 push-ups for that one.
Yes, you did, but still.
Please.
Anyway, it is cool.
Someone liked it.
Why don't we just use those punch cards as a variant? So let's duplicate this, and maybe we can use some of these switches to make a quick and easy variant of the computer core. We could also do some cool stuff with these walls. Is that flat? Yeah, we made flat screens for that. I really need to do a version of that where it's got the CRT look maybe. Anyway, so I just want to rip out some of this geometry, and really I only want the punch card section. So the easier thing to do might just be to select the parts we want here. We may as well take this thing as well. And then we just simply invert the selection and delete. And then we can make a... Oops, I isolated that when I shouldn't have. We can go to this thing and this thing, get it close, and then we start doing some variations. So I think it would be cool to... Do we want more punch card options than this? Maybe we make a whole rack of them, but I think we replace this section if we're going for a variant. So let's just oh, that's interesting. Why is that pivot point where it is now? Oh, I combined everything in this one. Well, that's slightly annoying, but oh well. And we're also not on our grid at this point in time, so let's just get this on the grid. I think our base point should be somewhere there. So I'm going to move it over here. This is not quite intersecting, but you can definitely tell that this room isn't really designed for this at this point in time. But with a little splash of color, you can really achieve a lot with the multi-materials. And there's some areas, like for the warning stripes, where it's just so fiddly with the paintbrush that it actually almost looks better, even though it's a single color. Like, you can do a lot with colors. Aerospace Smith says, I love the computer pieces from certain alien-based game, and all of the cassette tech is awesome. See your post on the Other Stuff channel on Discord. Yep, I might have seen that, but not for a while. I'm not always on the Other Stuff channel. I can drop the floppy of secret Benjamin files too. All the time I have to adjust pivot points because Ben, haha, it's so much. That's a Maya issue more than anything else, I think. Whatever. Anyway, I don't need to defend Maya. So yeah, we're gonna. I don't know how much of this we want to actually use, so let's just make a clone of it. And I'll get rid of the things that I'm uncertain of. So we definitely haven't had like a key code type thing. This always annoys me because you can only have 9 numbers. It really should be at least 12. So why don't we actually start there with that? So I'm going to make this part separate. I'm going to delete history. And then I'm just going to center the pivot on this so we can move it aside. Duplicate. And I'm going to remove everything north of this point. Actually, let's do it the opposite. Like so. And then we remove everything south of that point. And then we recombine it. Oh no, what am I doing? I took out too much. So this is Could have been done a bit more optimally than what we've done now, but this will work. Don't need the back for now. So I'm just going to grab this and pull it up to the start of the buttons. And to make this really super clear, what if we change this to a different color? So, oof. There. So it just looks a little bit more like a numpad. And then we can grab, let's redo the back of this actually. So we want to get rid of all of this geometry. John is typing furiously into the chat. It could be a good thing, it could be a really bad thing. You never know.
Sorry about that.
I don't know what you're apologizing for. Okay, so yeah, we've got a little control panel, and we'll just fill in the back.
You know, 9 buttons does work. You just gotta assume a different base system.
I'm not going to do that. So let's gut out some of this, and I think we're going to just select this edge. And I think this is a good project. This is achievable in the limited time we have left. But we're just going to get rid of some of these items so that we've got this panel left, and with that panel, that's where we're going to put our sort of punch card variation. So I'm also going to cut here and along there and there and there and there. Cut. And then we should be able to move this up, but we also need a, whoops, let's create the center line there. Not the best, but it works. And then we can move this up. And we're going to be building on top of this panel, essentially. So let's move these vertexes down. And that one. Not to there, but to here. We re-merge these polygons. And I guess at the top too would be a good idea. And we should then just be able to select this, deselect 2 edges, and do a bridge, which worked fine. So now we have this panel, and that's sort of serving as the base for this variant. So let's grab this, and we'll move the pivot point right back. And we're going to drop back into wireframe mode so we can kind of see our way around a little bit. And then we're going to have a look at what this, whoopsie-doo, what this is going to look like. Let's see. Let's move the pivot point here and see what we're dealing with, how this looks, what we need to adjust, so to speak. So this gives us a bit of a shelf. It's a bit too much at this point in time. It's more than what we need it to be. But it looks like we do have room for both of them. So maybe over here. Let's get our grid a little bit more refined. So right now it's like 1/8 of an inch. Let's switch this to 32. It can be arbitrary. It's not. The important thing with grids is to be consistent with them, I think. And then it does help if you're thinking about 3D printing as well, and the sort of layer sizes that is relevant. Let's actually take that all the way up to 64. And
You have it in proper normal.
yeah, I have a ton of them on this. Some of this is very old. But what I'm thinking is we actually are going to change this base altogether. So we're going to give it a different shape. Let's see, how would you store punch cards when they're not being used? This one's just sitting on top, but I wonder if they just have their own shelf. I'm going to separate these into their own. So delete on that version. Delete on that version. And then we're going to just move that aside. But yeah, I just want this box now. I don't want the whole kit and caboodle. Oh, interesting. Oh, my keyboard has switched languages. There we go. So there was some intersection going on here as well. So it's probably a good thing we delete this. I'm actually only going to keep the top surfaces here. So maybe I'll select this edge. What is going on? Okay. And maybe we can select and convert our selection to faces. There we go. And just delete those. Let's see, anyone have any comments on punch cards there? Punch cards weren't added to create the jacquard loom until the late 18th, 19th century. I think we're a bit earlier than what I was thinking here. Clive has used a small box when operating Kofa in the 80s.
Don't forget, a lot of punch cards, when they had a whole program on them, you put a stripe of color on the top, so you can keep the sort order easier in case it fell.
Right. I don't think we're going to go into that level of details, but thank you for that trivia. I did not know that. You use long rectangular boxes. You mark from corner to corner with a marker.
It looks like banding was used too when they put them in shelves.
Okay. I'm surprised how many people in our chat have so many comments about punch cards.
Punch cards are the future, bro.
Bro. Okay. So I'm going to do this a little different. I know it's not optimal, probably, but I'm going to make a little recess in here. Was that Benjamin? So we're actually going to go in here. And then extrude further in. I think we've got plenty of room to play with. Something like that. And then it's going to be just like this thing sits inside here. And the punch card plate itself sticks out. So let's move some of these edges. I mean, I thought I was getting on, but guys, if you've been playing with punch cards, I'm sorry to say, you ain't no spring chicken. Okay, so we're roughly where I'd like that to be. Let's just move the pivot point of this to here, and it makes sense if that intersects with about there. So we've got this little shelf going on. We could almost even like pull this up a little bit. Whoops. Let's get back on our grid. Now that I'm done insulting people's ages. Something like that. And let's make this a full box. So let's get this to snap to the back. Drop this down here. Pull this back out there. We probably want it to be just slightly different. Like I'm going to create a deliberate cavity here, and a part of it is just avoiding the ability to have this all intersecting. So we should still, even when we combine things, we should still be able to technically separate them again. So let's just go and fill those in. So what are we looking at so far without our wireframes on? So we've got this little variant, has little, codes on it. Needs some refining probably. Maybe we'll put a little, we can put that down there and maybe still just the screen. Or maybe we'll still the switches but not this back plate. So let's move the screen over here. It is flat, but I think we're going to accept that. I guess you don't have to be that old if you're using punch cards. You just have to have worked for places that really don't update their hardware very often. So it is a little bit off center, but that's kind of adds a little bit of charm. Then if we maybe use this upper section just for a few of those switches. Like this, and then let's center these. Ooh, why? Now that's interesting. Okay, because those are not separate objects. So let's grab these, make them separate. Delete the history. I'm just going to delete one of these. And we're going to center the pivot on this again. Just moving the pivot point back here. And then I'm just going to snap it. Again, going into wireframe. And now that I know that this is flush, I can move it into position using my grid. And we'll just duplicate this a couple of times. See how it looks with 5. And grouping. Maybe we just do this. Or even something like this. Little asymmetry. There's still a pattern there. Yeah, I don't know about that. I'm not sold about that. Let's take the wireframe off. Maybe I think it'll look better in a row. So let's delete these and just get a row of switches. Maybe we'll center them a little bit more. All right, so let's get that. Freeze the transformations. Yeah, it still wants to be away from that, but that looks better. We've got this nice variant. Punch cards. Still fitting thematically, but, giving you some options. And sometimes that's all you have to do. Let's see. You remember when your father brought home like 12 meters of those from a mathematics program he launched on the school research calculator? What a memorable day. Is anyone printing this at full scale? We need a full scale punch card as a prop. Yeah, I think you'd want a bit more detail than that. But there we go. We've got a new variant that we'll definitely be using. I'm excited to get this finished. I know I've only got like 18 days to get it all done. So there's a lot to do, a lot of printing to do. But the whole fact that we're at this point in time, should demonstrate to you guys just how easy this is going to be to print and illustrate and run an adventure with. So yeah, hopefully we get a good bit of engagement from the OPR folk that aren't familiar with our stuff. Hopefully we provide you guys with some new options. The beautiful thing about OPR, One Page Rules, and their StarQuest system is it's run via an AI, so you can actually play by yourself. That is a little bit more Diablo style play, like waves of enemies and that sort of thing. It's not as narrative. There is some narrative component. But hey, who has time for gaming groups? I mean, I do, but like for full miniatures and that sort of thing, or testing stuff out, it's a great option. Anyway, we will be back next Friday with our next exciting episode. Thank you so much for joining me this week. And helping me to create this lovely little variant with the punch cards. Again, the sign up link is below. Be sure to get in and when I say sign up, what it really is a notification link. So you click there and you'll get notified via email when the campaign goes live. But by doing so, you'll get 3 free models, including an articulated power loader. So jump in and get that if nothing else, because it's an awesome model. All right, guys, have a wonderful weekend and a great week next week, and I'll see you on the other side. Bye, guys.